amazing. And it seems as though there's more of that happening this year than I've noticed in years past. And I think that so much of it is this desire for us to bring light into our lives, to bring happiness, to bring joy, to bring a sense of well-being. And I just celebrate that. I think it's just absolutely magnificent. Well, I want to share a story with you this morning about a young man. He was going to high school, but he's always in trouble, could never seem to do anything right, and didn't quite know how to get himself back on the right track, but he had a wonderful skill. He was a terrific baseball player. And so the coach asked him to come and play for the baseball team, and at first he just, didn't want to. It was kind of, how guys are in high school. And finally he said, okay. He said, I'll play baseball. So he got into the game, and they were playing their first game, and the pitcher, he was the pitcher, and the first batter hit him with a ball hard, right on the head. And he was rushed to the hospital. Now, they had to do surgery immediately. And when they did the surgery, they found that he had an aneurysm that was sitting there almost about to burst. If he had not been hit on the head, if he had not come into the hospital in that moment, that aneurysm more than likely would have burst. This is a story, it's a true story from some time back, and I don't remember the exact resource, but it's a phenomenal story, and it's so beautiful, especially when we think about this idea of light. Because what he had in that moment, when he was in that dead place, what was happening is that he felt as though he was not, there we are. he felt as though he was dying. And what happened within his own mind is he began to see light. He described it very, very clearly, that he followed this path of light until he was able to come back into his own body and began to experience who and what he was. So it was an amazing, amazing demonstration of this synchronicity and this amazing thing of grace, and he called it grace after that. It changed his life completely, as you can imagine. So the lighthearted moral of this story is, you don't have to be hit on the head to see the light. So what we have to know is that light is always available to us. It's always within us. There's always that source of light that we can see and feel and experience. There's a set of doctrines called the Nectarian Holy Doctrines, and one of those says this. It's profound. God is the light source of all people. Human life is the light that comes from God. There is neither light source without light, nor light without light source. Just as light and its light source are one, so humans and God are one. Now, when we think about this concept of oneness, which is very difficult for us to understand, that we are very separate in our feelings, and we talk about this a lot in this room on Sundays, where it's one of the most challenging things for us to really encompass and embody is this idea that we are one. When I can reach out and touch Reverend Liza or touch Todd, it feels as though we're separate. But light gives us a medium to experience a sense of oneness. When we close our eyes, and maybe this happens to you when we do the opening meditation in the morning or a treatment, when we close our eyes and go within, we literally can see within our own minds a sense of light. And if we are guided in seeing that light, what happens is we see and experience that light expanding. And it feels as though our whole bodies are expanding, moving beyond where our physical being is, so that we literally do feel as though we're not just here, but we then begin to fill the room. And then if we go further into that feeling, into that awareness, we fill the entire city, the world, the universe, until we experience that sense of pure light. Now that experience, or that idea of using light to bring us into the awareness of oneness, is so perfect because it allows us to feel the presence of God. God as light, light as God, God as us. And we don't, many don't use that term God, but it's the universal presence, the Christ light, whatever we choose to call it, however we identify that, that is what it is. So bringing light into the world is our mission. It's our job. It's what we do. And we must be willing then to give of ourselves, to provide that way, to share the light as life. Because that light, this is why we're here. Now, when you look out into the world, into nature, and you see beautiful trees or stars in the sky or the beautiful mountains or Lake Tahoe or a beautiful river, you look at that and it's easy to say, wow, there's God. There's the beautiful expression of the infinite presence. There it is in form. Now, what we have to embody and accept and understand is that we are vehicles to do that same thing. How can we then become as beautiful and as attractive and as amazing as a tree or a rock or a star? Because we've been given this form to express light. That's why we're here. So how can we more fully allow that light to be expressed so that people and everything else wants to rush up to us and take our picture and say how beautiful you are and how lovely you are, because that's why we're here. And it has nothing to do with judgment of appearance. It has to do with our consciousness. It has to do with our willingness to dig down deeply and go deeply into that place of spiritual reservoir and bring forth the essence of what that true, wonderful light is all about. It's about love. It's about peace. It's about harmony. So we're not the light, but we are the vehicles through which that light shines. And so we have to be willing to be that vehicle, willing to let that light shine. It's the tangible way for the qualities of God to be expressed in the world. What if we didn't have the word peace or love or harmony? What if we couldn't describe the amazing experiences that we have when we let that light shine through us? It's one way to identify how that beautiful essence of God is shining through us. When we facilitate healing as practitioners, or when we're doing prayer for someone that we love in our lives, we are facilitating the light to move through us. Because when we do a prayer for someone, there's no judgment there. There's no attachment there. What there is love. There's an overabundance of love, of loving compassion for the other person, because what we're doing is we are being the facilitator for that beautiful healing to take place in that moment. So we are in divine partnership with this presence of God. So I like to think that each of us is God's light bulb. And that we just shine that beautiful light. And, how big is your light bulb? How brightly can you shine that light? Now, as light bearers and light revealers, one thing that we have to remember is that the most important quality of being a light bearer, of being a light bulb, is humility. Is to know and to really realize that as facilitators, as messengers of the light, we never look for personal gratification. We simply are that vehicle through which the light shines. and we just provide the way. The moment that we begin to adapt it or say to ourselves, well, I'm the reason, all of a sudden, and we've all heard that, and all of a sudden, the light goes out. The light goes out. So, we know that. What we know is that we just need to be open, willing vehicles for that light to shine. Many of us have had what's been termed as illumination, something that may happen when we provide the opportunity. We provide an atmosphere, perhaps, for illumination. Perhaps it's in meditation. Many people have had this experience. Many people have said, oh, I would love to have had an experience of illumination. It's something that happens. It's a spontaneous experience. And for those who have had an illumination experience, you'll remember it for your lifetime. And it's nothing that you really can plan. Sometimes it might happen if you're sitting by the river in a beautiful forest, or maybe you're doing a meditation, or maybe you're sitting at the side of the bed of someone who's very ill. You might have that moment of illumination. But I want to describe for you through the words of Richard Buck, who wrote a book about mystical experiences and who describes his own illumination experience, because I think it's helpful for us to know deeply what this is about. I seemed to be enveloped in a cocoon of golden light that actually felt warm, and which radiated a feeling of love so intense it was almost tangible. I could feel this love being passed on, and then suddenly it returned, a brilliant shaft of light from out of the sky, brighter by far than the mid-morning sun, permeating me with such intensity of happiness and love as to halt me in my tracks with a jump for joy. Somehow, mysteriously, I knew it stemmed from within. He said that when we shift from the physical and the mental world and we become aware of the spiritual world, it is then that we're truly having this mystical experience. I can remember that my first teacher, when I was first learning how to meditate, said to me, what may happen is that during your meditation, as you come out of it, you may realize that you're smiling. There's a sense of inherent joy that comes about through that connection to the infinite. And we just feel a deep fullness, a deep connection to this presence of joy. That, I think, is that connection that infinite presence and power says to us, I'm happy that you're expressing me. I'm happy that you're expressing who I am, and I'm feeling that joy through you. It's the place the Hebrews call Shekinah, or the presence of God. When Einstein was working on the theory of relativity, he was guided by a beam of light. And he speaks about this. When Gutenberg was developing the printing press, he said that it came to him in a burst of light. And we know this about so many other wonderful creative experiences that people have had. It comes in light. It's the way that we describe it. Light is that essence, that substance, that presence that we feel and know. It gives us a sense of hope. It gives us a sense of faith. It tells us we are here among that power. That power is in us. It supports us. It moves through us. And light is the way that it shows up in us. And so Paramahansa Yogananda said, be not afraid of the frightening dream of the world. Awaken to God's immortal light. That's a really interesting statement. Be not afraid of the frightening dream of the world. Isn't that what we're afraid of? It's the dream of the world. It's when we wake up in the morning and we see what we have to deal with during the course of the day. It's a frightening dream. Sometimes breakfast is a frightening dream. Oh my God, what shall I have today? Which cereal should I bring down from the shelf? I mean, all of these little moment-to-moment decisions that we have to make are a part of the dream. It's a part of the dream. It's not the reality of who we are. It's not the truth of our lives. It's just what we do. So how do we allow that amazing light force, that element, that essence of light to come through in everything? To see the light shining through the cereal box. To know that we are guided in everything we do by this light. I believe there's a part of us that's always seeking the light. And I think that's what this enlightenment process is all about. And I think it's our divine nature for it to reveal itself. I think that's what we're here to do. And so it's the constant desire within us to bring our human nature into connection with our soul nature. And when that happens, we live in harmony and we live in unity. So the holiday season is so symbolic of this. Someone said this morning we weren't going to turn the tree on until after people had decorated it later, and I thought, no, it needs light. We should light it so to remind us of that sense of light. And we're seeing that beautiful light all over the place, downtown, in houses and top of buildings, everywhere. It's a beautiful time of year that reminds us to be in that place of light. Every time I drive by Squaw Valley, you know, the flame, the Olympic flame, to me, that's the reminder that there's a light, a flame, that never goes out inside of me, that it's always there. It's great to have a reminder like that because we forget, especially when we're challenged by things, when we're challenged by loss, or challenged by difficulty, or challenged by confusion. Because when those challenges occur temporarily, it feels like the light goes out. It feels like we're blocked from moving forward. Sometimes we're so challenged that we literally can't move. We're simply stuck, and we feel as though we're just enveloped in darkness, and it's not possible for us to go forward. So this idea of having that image inside of us is so important, because when we are in that place, when we're seeing the challenges and those things that are happening in the outside world, the disturbances, it's so important for us to know that the answer is not out there. When we go within and we recognize that eternal flame of light that is always on, it gives us the strength, it gives us the wisdom to move forward, to throw aside those veils, to throw aside those curtains that are blocking our view of what we can do. And we can move past it and know that we're supported by love, we're supported by peace. So Dr. Ernest Holmes said, as the Christ awakens the divine spark, shot from the central fires of the universal flame, it is able to warm other souls by the radiance of its own self-unfoldment. So when you experience someone who might be going through a difficult time, a challenging time, having a sense of darkness in their lives, what Holmes is saying is, we can be a reminder to other people that there is a light within them, that we can spark that light, because it's never, ever out. Even when the body moves from this life state into another form, there's still a light within that soul that is ever bright, that burns within us, and that we are witness to that light, that we can truly bring about the realization of that light in anyone who might be experiencing that place of darkness. So we have such a responsibility, such an opportunity to shine that light, to be the light in the world, to feel and experience and know that we are a vehicle vehicle through which that light can shine, through which we can do so much good. How can we bring those qualities of God out into the world? Let our light shine. Feel, see, and experience that light. When cars began to make the transition so that the lights were always on, so this was a frustrating experience for me because I wanted to turn them off during the day. And I did everything I could to make those lights turn off. And it was like there was no knob in the car that would make the lights go out. And I think some people have figured out how to turn them off, but I never figured out how to turn those daylight lights off. And what I realized is that's okay. The lights need to be on. The lights are a good thing. And I think it's a great reminder for all of us. Turn your lights on. And when you see that sign on the highway that says, turn your lights on, let it be a reminder for us to turn our lights on. Turn your light on wherever you are. You are such bright lights in the world. And the love that you express is truly the light that's coming from the divine. So my greatest blessings to each and every one of you as we turn on those lights of love and light the way for all who are on our paths. We take the journey together. And so it is.